Mark Twain was born as Samuel Langhorne Clemens on November 30th, 1835, in Florida, Missouri. He was the sixth of 7 children, but only 3 of his siblings survived to adulthood. His father was a lawyer and judge, and his mother was a homemaker. His father died when he was 11 years old, and he had to work as a printer's apprentice to support his family. He worked as a steamboat pilot on the Mississippi River until the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861. He briefly served with a Confederate militia, but soon quit and moved to Nevada. He met his future wife, Olivia Langdon, through a mutual friend in 1867. He courted her for 2 years and married her in 1870. They had 4 children: Langdon, Susie, Clara, and Jean, but 3 of them died before reaching adulthood. His daughter Susie died of meningitis at age 24, and his wife died of heart failure at age 58. He adopted the pen name Mark Twain in 1863 when he began writing humorous stories for newspapers. The name Mark Twain comes from a term used by riverboat pilots on the Mississippi River, meaning 2 fathoms or 12 feet deep. He became a steamboat pilot on the Mississippi River when he was 18 years old. He was a fan of cats and owned several of them throughout his life. He gave them names such as Apollinaris, Beelzebub, Blatherskite, Buffalo Bill, Satan, Sin, Sour Mash, Tammany, Zoroaster, and Pestilence. He had a complex relationship with his contemporary, author Henry James. He is considered one of the greatest American writers of all time. He published a satirical travelogue called The Innocents Abroad, 1869. He traveled extensively around the world and wrote about his experiences in books such as The Innocents Abroad, Roughing It, Life on the Mississippi, and Following the Equator. He was a close friend of several other famous writers, including William Dean Howells and Bret Harte. He was a friend of many prominent figures, such as Ulysses S. Grant, Nikola Tesla, Helen Keller, and William Dean Howells. He was also an outspoken opponent of imperialism and slavery. He was a Freemason and joined the Polar Star Lodge No. 79 in St. Louis in 1861. He later became a member of the Carson City Lodge No. 1 in Nevada and the Keystone Lodge No. 352 in New York. He was a master of the American vernacular, and his work has had a profound influence on American literature. He became famous after his story, The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, was published in 1865. He later wrote several novels, such as The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, and The Prince and the Pauper. He was a member of the Society for Psychical Research and had an interest in paranormal phenomena. He was a successful businessman and investor, but also made some bad financial decisions that led him to bankruptcy in 1894. He recovered from his debts by giving lectures around the world and publishing his autobiography. He was a strong advocate for copyright laws and fought against piracy of his works. He was a vocal critic of imperialism and racism and supported the rights of women, workers, and minorities. He spoke out against the Philippine-American War, the Boer War, and the Congo Free State. He also joined the Anti-Imperialist League in 1901. He was also a member of the Authors Club of New York City. Twain spent time in San Francisco during the Gold Rush era. He was an avid reader and had a large personal library of over 3,000 books. He read works by authors such as William Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, Leo Tolstoy, Jane Austen, and Ralph Waldo Emerson. He was an inventor and patented 3 devices: an improvement to suspenders, a history trivia game, and a self-pasting scrapbook. He also worked on a typewriter, a fountain pen, and a steam engine, but none of them were successful. He wrote a humorous essay titled The Awful German Language, about the challenges of learning German. He was fascinated by science and technology and befriended several prominent scientists such as Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, and Alexander Graham Bell. He witnessed some of their experiments and even participated in some of them. He was also awarded the honorary degree of Doctor of Literature from Yale University in 1901. He wrote an essay titled The War Prayer, which was not published until after his death. He wrote his first novel, The Gilded Age, A Tale of Today, in collaboration with his friend Charles Dudley Warner in 1873. The book gave a name to the post-Civil War era in America, characterized by corruption and greed. He was also the first American writer to be translated into multiple languages. Twain began his writing career as a journalist. Twain had a fondness for billiards and was known to be a skilled player. Twain lost a substantial amount of money on a typesetting machine he invested in. Twain met and corresponded with other literary figures like Leo Tolstoy and George Bernard Shaw. Twain published a book called A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court in 1889. Twain served as a vice president of the American Anti-Imperialist League. Twain was a close friend of the Austrian composer Johann Strauss II. Twain was a skilled inventor. He invented a self-pasting scrapbook and a memory trainer. Twain was a staunch critic of American foreign policy, particularly in the Philippines. Twain was a strong advocate for social justice and civil rights. He spoke out against slavery, racism, and other forms of discrimination. Twain was also a successful lecturer. He toured the world giving talks on a variety of topics, including literature, travel, and politics. Twain was an early adopter of the typewriter and was one of the first authors to submit a typewritten manuscript to a publisher. Twain wrote for newspapers in Nevada, California, and New York. Twain was an early supporter of Helen Keller and helped her advocate for the blind and deaf. Twain was an honorary member of the Bohemian Club, a private club in San Francisco. Twain was the first American writer to become a millionaire from his writing. Twain's close friend Henry Rogers helped him financially in his later years. Twain was awarded the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters from Oxford University in 1907. Twain's work has been adapted into numerous films and television shows. Twain's writing is known for its humor, wit, and social commentary. Twain's writing style and humor greatly influenced later American authors. Twain was known for his bushy mustache and often wore white suits in his later years. Twain's family moved to Hannibal, Missouri when he was 4 years old. Twain's autobiography was published posthumously, as he specified in his will. Twain's house in Hartford, Connecticut, is now a museum. He predicted his own death by saying that he came in with Halley's Comet in 1835 and expected to go out with it in 1910. His prediction came true when he died of a heart attack on April 24, 1910, at 74, one day after the comet's closest approach to Earth. He was buried in Elmira, New York, next to his wife and children. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated.